Hydrow recently released the Hydrow Wave, which is designed to be a lower cost, more space efficient alternative to the original Hydrow Rower. And since its release, I've had more requests for this review in comparison than any other connected fitness product, because there just are so many questions to be answered, like how does the new Hydrow Wave feel to row on, and what are all of the exact differences between the Hydrow Wave and the original? Well, we got a lot to cover, and for those of you new to the channel, my name is Colin Jenkins, and this is Connect the Watts, where we cover the latest connected fitness news, reviews, guides, and interviews. So if you want more content just like this, hit that subscribe button and let's get started. There are actually more design differences between the Hydrow Wave and the original Hydrow Rower than I thought there would be. Now, the change that is most visually obvious is the new look of the rower itself. The change from steel to a polymer frame with a good amount of plastic casing makes the Hydrow Wave significantly lighter than its predecessor. The original Hydrow weighing in at 145 pounds and the Hydrow Wave weighing in at just 102 pounds. Though even with the lighter weight, the max suggested user weight has remained the same at 375 pounds. This change alone helped bring the cost down, made it easier and faster to ship, and so thankfully you don't have to have it delivered and rely on a company like XPO. And a lighter weight also makes the Hydrow Wave easier to move and lift upright, though part of that isn't just due to the decrease in weight, but also to the decrease in length. See, the original Hydrow is 86 inches long, while the Hydrow Wave cuts that down to just 82 inches. Now, on top of the polymer frame is a new stainless steel rail on which the seat glides on top of. And while I don't like the look of this rail as much as I love the originals, functionally it works just as well. And although the rail on the Hydrow Wave is thinner than the original, the width between the foot pads has remained exactly the same. You can see that the foot pads themselves extend a little bit away from the thinner frame in order to achieve this same foot placement. And these foot pads have a slightly different design than the original, replacing the two-hole adjustment system with a single one, which I think is an improvement as it does make it slightly easier to adjust. Now, the seat on the rail of the Hydrow Wave is also the same as the original Hydrow, which is good because as far as rower seats go, this is the most comfortable one I've used. And while the seat on the Hydrow Wave is now on a 2-roller plus 2-idler mechanism compared to the original's 10-roller one, it really doesn't feel noticeably less smooth at all. Now, what is quite a bit different and what I did not expect is that the height of the seat has been raised several inches relative to the height of the foot pads. And this is actually going to be a beneficial change to most rowers, as having a higher seat relative to your feet makes it easier to get in and keep proper positioning. And those with more limited flexibility will likely unknowingly benefit from this slightly raised seat position. And that's also a good thing because the Hydrow Wave is a bit closer to the ground than the original Hydrow. With it being lower to the ground, that can make it harder to get in and out of, especially for those who are heavier or have limited flexibility. And I think the raised seat really helps make up for this. So the handle on the Hydrow Wave is also the same as the original, which, like the seat, is my favorite amongst rowers. And here is what I think the biggest difference is between the two. Pulling on the handle, the Hydrow Wave feels, sounds, and behaves much differently than the original. And it can be hard to describe a feel sometimes, so I'm going to break this down as best that I can. So first, the snappy pullback of the original Hydrow has been greatly diminished. So when you enter the return phase of the rower, the chain or strap that is attached to the handle tends to help pull you in to a certain degree, which makes the rowing motion feel more natural and in many cases can make it easier to keep good form, encouraging your arms to straighten out and your hips to lean forward before you begin to bend your knees. Now, the original Hydrow had the strongest amount of pullback of any rower by far, and is one of the reasons that it feels so great to row on. With the Hydrow Wave, that pullback is significantly less. Now, it's not bad, and in fact, it feels very comparable to most other rowers now, but it's definitely not the same feeling that you get with the original. Second, the mechanism for creating resistance or drag feels really different here. See, rowers create resistance or drag using water, air, magnets, or in a few cases, a hybrid. And the original Hydrow Rower used dynamic and responsive computer-controlled electromagnetic resistance, which really helps make that rower feel more smooth and sound more quiet than any other rower currently available. Now, the Hydrow Wave still says that it uses this dynamic and responsive computer-controlled electromagnetic resistance. That's kind of a mouthful, but something has changed significantly here. The sound is different for one, with it being a lot louder and sounding a lot more like an air fan rower. Though not nearly as loud as a full air fan rower like the Concept 2, but most of all, it doesn't feel nearly as smooth as the original Hydrow. And again, it's not bad, and it feels more in line with other rowers available, but it doesn't have that buttery smooth pull that the original Hydrow Rower has. And if you row slowly, you can really feel how more bumpy and less smooth it is. Now that said, Hydrow's computer tech, which controls this resistance based on the drag level that you can select, which can still be adjusted on the screen just like the original. Once you get going, this drag level feels the same between the rowers. It's just that the Hydrow Wave won't feel as smooth or give you that strong pullback. Now moving on to the screen, the Hydrow Wave features a smaller, non-rotating 16-inch HD touchscreen compared to the original's 22-inch, which could rotate 15 degrees up and down and 25 degrees left and right. But the smaller display still looks and feels great to use as it's very quick and responsive. It's also placed a little further back than the original, which I actually prefer, and it also seems to have a slightly darker contrast than the original, which I found is better at eliminating glare. And now personally, I like the larger screen of the original slightly more, but my wife actually prefers this one, so I don't think the smaller screen is going to be too much of a drawback for most. Now in terms of storage, both the original Hydrow and the Hydrow Wave can be stored upright, but only with the purchase of additional accessories. For the original Hydrow, you technically need to purchase an $80 wall mount though, and I do not suggest this as it is probably not 100% safe. I just use some bungee cords that are attached to my wall to hold it upright. For the Hydrow Wave though, you will need to purchase a $190 vertical anchor, which includes an attachment at the base as well as a wall mount to make it easy and safe to store. So if you plan on storing your Hydrow Wave upright, which I know the majority of you will, you're going to want to plan on spending an additional $200 for the storage kit. And finally, a small but noticeable difference between the Hydrow Wave and the original is how the screen comes down to be stored. For the original Hydrow, there was an easy button that allowed you to do this. That has been replaced now with a pin, and the pin is still relatively easy to use, but it does take a little bit more effort than the simple button press. Now, the all-access membership for the Hydrow costs $38 per month, which includes access to their growing library of over 4,000 classes and an unlimited number of profiles which can be used on the rower. In terms of their membership, I actually find it to be one of the better ones among connected fitness platforms. There's a ton of variety between the on-demand and live classes, all kinds of workout types and workout lengths, technical skills and practice and locations, both with and without instructors. But what really sets Hydrow apart here is their production and their coach quality. Hydrow is really the only company to produce consistently high quality outdoor rowing content, and definitely the only connected fitness company to provide almost daily live rowing workouts out on the water. The video quality and sound is excellent here, and from my opinion, a big improvement over some of the more traditional connected fitness classes that all take place in a studio. My biggest compliment to Hydrow, however, goes out to their coaches. I cannot think of any other connected fitness platform in which all of the coaches are all almost equally excellent. And whereas a lot of connected fitness programs hire actors or dancers to coach since they are the easiest to transition to camera work, Hydrows are all true rowing experts, and it really comes across, and somehow they're still able to provide a ton of entertainment, motivation, and of course, excellent instruction. Now, Hydrow may not be as attractive to some because because it is just rowing, but it is that singular commitment to rowing that I feel has allowed them to develop a production that is this excellent. Now, that's not to say that the Hydrow membership is perfect. There are only a handful of fully built out programs. The leaderboard here, while I like it, it can't be interacted with in any way while you take the class, only afterwards. The strength classes on Hydrow are almost entirely bodyweight and all taught by a single coach who, although he's a very good coach, likely won't be the perfect taste for everyone. The achievement system and workout tracking are also fairly limited here, and there's a bit more to see on the app, but overall it falls behind others in this area. And as of now, there's no way to do some basic things that you can do on most non-connected rowers, like building your own workout or setting up your own intervals, which personally I think is ridiculous for any rower not to have, let alone one that costs over $1,000. Now, you can export your workouts automatically to some third-party apps like Strava, which is what I do suggest setting up if you want to better track and analyze your Hydrow workouts. Now, hopefully a lot of these small things can be improved on over time, but the most important part, the part that is hardest for companies to develop, like the excellent assortment of coaches and having such a solid production, that is already dialed in here. And really for me, that is what sells Hydrow. So rating this on a buy, lease, wait for a sale, or do not touch ever scale, I would say that the Hydrow Wave is definitely a buy. It may not feel or look as good as the original, but at the end of the day, you're gonna save around $1,000. So I think it's a fair trade-off for most people who are absolutely gonna find this rower worth it. And if you wanna see my thoughts on the original Hydrow, well, make sure to watch my full review of it here and check out the video description below to learn more about the Hydrow Wave. As always, appreciate you being here. This is Colin with Connect the Watts, and I'll see you next time.